Hello, everyone, and welcome to our kitchen talk. My name is Anastasia, and I'm a journalist and communication specialist at n-ost. Today, we will talk about the LGBTQ community in Central Asia and its media and activism. Probably most of you know that Central Asia is not a very welcoming place for the queer community, but today we want to look at these challenges and problems through the lens of queer grassroots local journalist and activist project. We have 4 guests from the region. It's Anatoly Chernoussov, founder of the first LGBTQ plus mass media in Kazakhstan. Saltanat Shoshanova, also from Kazakhstan. She is a manager of UNIT project and network that support independent queer projects in the region. We also have a photographer and artist from Uzbekistan, Kamila Rustanbekova, and researcher Mohira Suyarkulova. We will have, I think, around 40 minutes for presentation, and guests will talk about their work, and then we start the discussion. And I think we start with Saltanat.
Yes, thank you. And Mohira is from Kyrgyzstan, and not only researcher but an activist. But maybe she'll tell more about herself. Hi, yes, I'm Saltanat, and I'm manager at UNIT since 1 year and a half. I'm originally from Kazakhstan, and I was always a part of queer community there, and but I live in Europe since 11 years now, first in Vienna, now in Berlin, because I studied and lived here, and I'm kind of in between the two worlds, but all of my expertise and knowledge and my heart brought me to n-ost and to UNIT, and I think we're doing incredible job there and very important job, and I have 2 amazing people in my team. One is Pavel Gafarov, who you can see here as well. He is a SMM manager for UNIT, and my colleague Vika Biran, who is from Belarus. This is Vika. She unfortunately needs to go, but now you know how she looks like. And we 3 of us are doing UNIT. So today I will start with telling you a bit about how we think about UNIT, what we think our goal is. Then maybe I will tell you about the context of Central Asia, how I see it, and maybe my colleagues who are from respective countries can add something later to this, and then I will share with you some recent publications that came out with our support while talking about places where they were published and what maybe challenges that we had while producing them. So now let me start sharing the screen. 1 second. Okay, do you see my screen? Yes. Okay, so, but I cannot do the, can I? Yeah, sure, maybe like this. Yes. So UNIT exists since 2018, and first it was focused just on Eastern Europe, but then we kind of deepened our scope, and last year we started working with Central Asia, and this year we added South Caucasus to this. So now we're approaching all 3 regions, and we think of ourselves as Russian-speaking network, but at the same time, of course, we are trying to include all local languages. And for example, with South Caucasus, we work in English. So it's now like a mixture of identities and languages and of different perspectives. And our like overall goal is to improve the quality of reporting on queer topics in all of the regions. And here you can see like this a bit complicated looking graphs, but they're not so complicated. If you look at it, like we have 4 main players that we focus on. One group is activists. It's like a queer community that we have, people who have this expertise and topic sensitivity coming from the community. These people have the knowledge, but maybe not always they have a skill on how to report on those topics. Then we have journalists who sometimes don't know like the life of the queer community. They're not part of it, but they're eager to write and report on it like in a better way. So we invite those journalists to our meetings together with activists and together with editors and media who are willing to publish those articles. And since like last year, we organized 4 meetings. Like last year, we had only meetings in Central Asia, which brought together people from Eastern Europe and Central Asia. This year, it was more regional. We had meeting in Central Asia, only for Central Asian countries, in Eastern Europe for Belarus, Ukraine, and in South Caucasus for all of the South Caucasus countries like Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan, and like all of the regions that are now in dispute. Yeah, so we like try to create this network first of all, and to create a place where people can start discussions on those topics and exchange knowledge and perspectives. And then we support those like the end product through supporting people who finally produce articles for us. And through these articles, we hope to reach broader public, and this then will give queer communities in the regions more inclusion, acceptance, and visibility. And if you go to our website, it's unit.n-ost with -.org. You will see like a map there, and on this map you will see most of the articles that came in the last years. You will see people, you will see organizations that we work with, and yeah, it's a fun like a tool to click on. I can maybe, no, this is not the right, sorry. Interesting. It's here, sorry. Okay. Okay, I have everything here. So if you go, this is our website. And then if you go here, you can click and then travel through the region kinda, and find stuff that can be of your interest. My laptop is very slow. Or you can have a list view here and then find people, organizations, and articles. Yeah. If we talk about Central Asia, sorry, yeah, and how we like what kind of media we have there, or not only Central Asia, like it also the case with other regions is that we have this kind of mainstream media, like Klop, or in Kyrgyzstan, Zaborona, in Ukraine, and we have this queer media, kind of queer like activist media that produce very specific knowledge for specific group, and maybe they have like a smaller impact, but they foster community and empower it. So we try to have this balance between two different kinds of media that we support and work with. And if we talk about like Central Asia, of course, it's like a vast region. It consists of 5 different countries with different approaches to the topic and different legal systems. As maybe all of you know, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan have laws that ban same-sex contacts between men, and it can lead to incarceration up to 2 years in both countries. Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan do not have explicit laws banning any same-sex relations, but at the same time, of course, there are no like equal rights for the community there, and like there are different tensions in each country. However, like there is like a civil society that is now like being active, and in Kazakhstan since 3 years we have feminist marches, and each year this march grows. Like it started with 200 people, and I think this year it was like 500, which is a lot for like Almaty. And like recent years they also have queer flags among it, and this like queer agenda, or like queer people who are involved in the organization are also visible within this huge movement. In Bishkek, they also have several marches, and maybe then Mohira can tell you more. And it's like the approach of the policeman changes from year to year, and in 2021 like the march was like brutally stopped, and right-wing male group came and like destroyed the whole process. So it's also like from year to year the moods are changing kind of, but still the civil society there is kind of growing in both countries. For example, this year, like it was kind of okay in Bishkek, and it was of course connected, and in Almaty, and it was connected to a war in Ukraine. And what I think is similar in other countries, but I will talk now a bit more about Kazakhstan, is that there is this tension between national and queer. Like you cannot be Kazakh and be queer. And when some people try to claim both identities as like those like activists from the region, like Amir or Janar or this artist Kantardi, they then get a lot of negative comments and being bullied online. So there is this like a huge debate who is allowed to be a part of this like nationhood. At the same time, we have like quite vibrant underground scene with like drag shows. For example, this photos from a drag show in Almaty, and I covered people's faces with smileys so not to like de-anonymize them. And there was like a lesbian wedding with lesbian Kazakh songs, which was amazing and very like full event. So like the underground scene is strong, and despite the challenges. I'm sorry. And then I wanted to show you some articles that we supported. Last year, we had, do I still have time? I still have time, yeah.
Yes,
last year we had like a short, how it's called, internship program, and we were focusing on cross-border collaborations, which is like one of the n-ost's, not one, the goal of n-ost, kind of cross-border border crossing journalism. And we invited journalists and activists from Eastern Europe to travel to Central Asia and vice versa. And this amazing photo project came to life, which was made by Ekaterina Myats, a photographer and activist from Belarus, who spent 2 months in Bishkek and photographed and interviewed queer communities there and people, and made very like tender and touching photos and documented their stories. You can see, I will just make like a little spoiler for you, and you can see to the end on either on Kok.team's website or on our website. And Kok.team is this like a bigger media from Bishkek, from Kyrgyzstan, which is kind of liberal one, and always not always, like in a protest to the state, and they create a very good, deep journalism. So if you don't know them, please check them out. And we also have like a translation of this, so you can read it in English if you don't read Russian. The second part of Myats project was published at Make Out, which was this amazing Belarusian queer media, which is now closed, unfortunately, but it still works as an archive. And if you want to know more about queer lives in Eastern Europe, please read it and check it out. And there is this photo project by Myats, who documented her friend who was dating a Kyrgyz person, and how they like relationship unfolded within these political challenges that both persons were like subjected to. We also, when it comes to bigger media, we had collaboration with The Village Kazakhstan, like in contrast to The Village Russia, because The Village Russia, I think, is like a leisure kind of media. It's a bit about lifestyle or something like this. In Kazakhstan, The Village Kazakhstan is quite political and quite like open and brutal in some regards, and they really like keen on writing on sensitive topics. So I'm really glad that we supported this particular article, and I, for some reason, I didn't open the original, but maybe yes, here's the original. It's about queer Muslims from the region, and it was also cross-border article about people from Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan and how they understand themselves as Muslims and queers. And then the translation was published at Novostan. And I don't know if people know Novostan, but it's this organization that is covering Central Asian news and translating Central Asian news for English, German, and French-speaking people. And with The Village, we had 2 more bigger scope publications. One about transgender transition, transition of people from Tajikistan and Kazakhstan, which was like also quite refreshing and new to read something about this. And this year we had a publication that was covering abuse in queer relationships. As I said, we support like smaller media, and like a young daughter of the village Kazakhstan is Batur Jamal, which is Instagram media owned by like the same publishing company, or like the same gang of people, but like created by different editors. And it's they say that they're like независимые СМИ for для девушек с акцентом на права. Yeah, so it's like a feminist kind of not so queer, but feminist media, which has 32,000 followers, which is quite good for the region. So they're quite prominent and like visible, and they exist only on Instagram, and they create like this knowledge about feminism and queerness as well. So we supported a couple of things, and the last one was about like a story of a lesbian young woman from Kazakhstan in the format of essay, and it was an anonymous one, and I think this one talks to how it is in the region, still not so secure to talk about this too openly in some instances. Also, when it comes to smaller medias, we supported, for example, several Instagram posts on this activist project called Kok.team, which is a Kyrgyz project. Sorry, and it also has quite a lot of followers for this niche kind of thing, and they talk to teens about sexuality and how to, I don't know, menstruation and relationships. And we supported several posts about how it's to be gay or lesbian, and those stories were quite heartbreaking. Maybe the others are not so interesting, but yeah, we'll show them to you. There is this also new project about queer life in Kazakhstan called Karamagan, which translates as "Look at Me," and we supported this video about queer person in Kazakhstan, and it's like very well filmed and it's quite short, but yeah, we're also happy to give a start to new media / activist projects in the region. I think I'm done for now. And
thank you, Salta. Maybe we can, from this overview, we can look at particular project and talk with Kamila, who is from Uzbekistan, artist and photographer. Kamila, can you tell us about your work?
Yes, my name is Kamila Rustanbekova. I'm from Uzbekistan. I'm a photographer. I'm working on documentary projects as well as art projects. In documentary stuff, I travel my country, Uzbekistan, and explore it through the photographing people, their work, their life. Everyday life, and the landscapes. And in my art projects, I'm working with such things as sex, sexuality, body, physicality, and identity. And I am engaged in nude photography. I love doing this, and in this context, as part of a unit meeting in spring, I created a photo series that is called Asal. In Uzbek, it means something natural, real, genuine. And it is a story about my 5 heroes who are queer, part of queer community in Tashkent. And here you can see the photographs of them. And the concept of the story is that it is believed that queerness is something unnatural. However, the science says otherwise. And I try to visualize it, the connection between queer people and people overall, and the nature, that they are so tender, pure, and natural. So also they shared their thoughts. And yes, and to create and formulate my idea, Saltanat and Mohira helped me with that, because I'm not a part of queer community and I was not so an expert in the LGBTQ plus problematics. So they helped me so much. Yes.
Thank you. Can you, because I think Uzbekistan is a very conservative country, and this is very brave project. Can you tell about more how you try to find people? Was it hard? What kind of reactions did you have after publishing this?
Initially, when we talked about this project at unit meetings, I thought that it will be unreal to find people, because our society is so aggressive. Uzbekistan is so conservative and religious country. So we do not have open queer community or open queer people. However, I found my heroes through my friendship connections, through my friends who are part of the community. And that's how I find my heroes. They agreed to participate, but without their faces, only anonymously. Yes, and the reactions for the story. Every time I am not expecting anything from the publishing. However, it comes a lot. So after this, I got many positive reactions, not only under the post in Instagram, but in my direct messages. Some people were really grateful. And I thought that it is really helping or meaningful for them. However, there were also many negative comments, and some wrote like bullshit, cringe, or making queerness something like an ill. And it surprised me a lot, but one boy even wrote that he noticed that many girls support LGBTQ plus, and he regrets the fact that women were given a right to talk. That is the situation in Uzbekistan. And also I got these reactions every time. And when I publish even female nude photography or female nude photography with hair on female's body, and people are really shocked every time. However, I'm not blaming anyone for such reactions because it's natural in our society. And in my project, one hero shares this good thought. Let me read it. Pain, fear, and even hatred from the rejection of queer people in the world have been replaced by understanding, because the environment shapes a person, and where there is no education, it is useless to wait for acceptance. They themselves are scared when someone encroaches on the imposed norms of society, especially such sensitive ones. And it's totally true. This topic is very sensitive and vulnerable in our society.
Thank you so much for sharing this. Can I ask you a last question? But you already mentioned that you are not the part of the community. How did you feel about this? Did you feel related? How did you approach this topic?
Yes, initially I thought that I have no right to talk about LGBTQ plus problems because I do not directly relate to the LGBTQ plus community. However, I have many friends who are part, and acquaintances and even closer people of mine. So I share their pain and experiences, and also I know how it feels when what it feels like when you are disadvantaged part of society, when you have no rights, when you can be understood, and when you have to struggle for some base needs, namely being a woman in Uzbekistan. And Uzbekistan, as I mentioned, is a conservative and religious country, and it's cruel for any minority, being queer and being women. I understand how different those minorities. However, I do understand how it feels. And in this way, I think I can relate to this project, and maybe even I overcome my own pain and negative experiences and everyday struggle through doing such things, and maybe I hope helping someone.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing this beautiful perspective. Maybe we can come to Mohira in this case, and you can share what you do in your work, and also kind of these recommendations for journalists how to write about LGBTQ plus community in Central Asia. Mohira, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sorry, I was experiencing some connection issues. Hopefully it's going to be okay from here. Yes, thank you for hosting this talk, n-ost, and for initiating this media project. And I was fortunate to be invited as one of the moderators of the latest meeting in Central Asia. And yeah, because I'm also sometimes involved in some of the initiatives, I could relate to a lot of things that people have mentioned here, and also things that our participants also were interested in writing about. And yeah, the challenges that they face. Yeah, like I'm a researcher. I work at the American University of Central Asia in Bishkek, but I'm also involved in feminist and queer activism here in Kyrgyzstan mostly. And yeah, so I guess our task at this meeting for journalists and activists who want to produce media on LGBT issues in Central Asia, it was about what was already mentioned earlier by Saltanat, how activists often don't have the kind of the journalistic know-how of media production, whereas maybe those journalists who want to write about LGBTQ issues don't necessarily have, the knowledge of the issues, or they don't have certain sensibilities to cover them. Plus, of course, there's the matter of like editorial politics, right? So who owns the media? What are the production cycles like? Who sets the agenda? Yeah, who basically decides what's newsworthy and what angle to take on a particular story. Yeah, these are all kind of the challenges that we have to face as activists and journalists, and sometimes there is no clear boundary between those things, right? Yeah, I guess
Can I ask about
when yeah,
sorry, continue.
sorry.
Can I just ask a small question
Yes.
about recommendation? Because I remember you said about kind of sensational narrative, and it's very, I think, interesting question about how not to avoid this sensational narrative, but also kind of pay people attention on the issue. Can you give some recommendations maybe here?
Yeah, so often, so like local LGBT organizations monitor coverage of LGBT issues. So, for instance, in Kyrgyzstan, and they publish it on their website, the Kazindika.
Sorry, Mohira, we have a very bad connection. Maybe you can turn off the screen. Maybe it will be better if we try without the image for a couple of.
Oh, can you hear me?
Can you try again?
Hello.
Yes.
Can
yes,
you hear me better now?
Yes.
I'm sorry about this. Yeah, so I was also not hearing people who spoke previously very clearly. So I switched off my Wi-Fi, and now it's just mobile data. So hopefully it will be enough. Yeah, so I was saying that local LGBT organizations monitor media coverage of LGBTQ issues in the local media outlets in the press, and what they've been basically is how LGBTQ issues are oftentimes they become in the center. They come to the center of media attention to mobilize certain political agendas, right? So it's completely instrumentalized, politicized in a way that, it's used to kind of demonize or discredit political opponents, right? To forward this narrative of like, such and such liberal political party is connected to the United States, or they are funded by the United States, or they are associated with some nefarious political forces that want to, force foreign moral values onto our society, and then, like the ultimate signifier of this moral decay is, of course, queer people. And the ultimate threat in this kind of discourse is the danger of, you know, gay marriage, even though it's of course not the main item on the agenda of local activists, right? We have more pressing issues, but this is how it's been weaponized. It's been instrumentalized in this way. And then the other, like the media who are not homophobic, who we can identify as more liberal media, then they want to create a more sympathetic narrative, but this sympathetic narrative then also mostly focuses on you know, queer suffering, to show I guess to elicit some kind of empathetic response from the audiences. Then they do kind of want to very graphically describe the violence and the injustices that are perpetrated against queer people. And this is, of course, very important part of journalistic work that needs to be done, but it's not the entirety of like queer life and existence in Central Asia. So, and it's mostly like assuming this kind of hostile and you know, heterosexual cisgender audience, right? When we talked at the workshop, basically our two main goals that the participants identified was this kind of activism to kind of bring enlightenment to the broader audiences. But the other very important part, what they wanted to achieve, was to also empower the queer communities, to instill pride and you know, and to share joy, and to, you know, basically to create this kind of virtual community of mutual support. And so basically community building, community mobilization, community empowerment, and I think that's also a very important part of the media work that needs to not be kind of overlooked. So especially like the kind of media that's created by queer people for queer people. So hopefully you heard most of what I said.
Exactly. Yes, everything.
Okay.
Yeah, and what you said, queer media for queer people, we have like our last guest, Anatoly Chernoussov, who was one of the manager of first LGBTQ mass media outlet in Kazakhstan.
Yeah, and who has bad connection, but I will try.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, okay, so hi everyone. I'm not only manager, I was the co-founder, editor, and doing whatever it's supposed to be done at Kok.team. And we all did like the same. When we created Kok.team, we started like before we created Kok.team. What was the idea to creation? First, we started to think about it in 2015. That time, there was no media, even liberal media. They didn't write anything about way. Everything was like really this boulevard.
I think the connection is very bad.
Or negative or trans person were killed. The connection is bad, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, it's completely ununderstandable what I'm talking about, yeah?
It's understandable, but I think we have so much noise around that it's a bit hard sometimes to concentrate. We see now the media outlet.
Yeah. So you can see it, yeah, what we created, and we did it like 5 years, and now we closed it. Can you hear me?
Yes.
when we opened it, there were no media talking about speaking about LGBT people in neutral or positive in positive way. So we decided that we should start it. The second aim was to create at least some content in Kazakh language. We worked like 5 years almost without any financial support from any part. We got once we got financial support from Planet Ramel, and it was like 3,000 euro, which is nothing for 5 years. And we also, what we did some crowdfunding, but it was not for the editors. It was was not to support us, our work. It was to promote our materials on Facebook and Vkontakte and Instagram. So, and talking about this promotion, what we promoted, we didn't promote everything we wrote on Kok.team. We promoted one particular project, which is tell about your trouble. Расскажи о беде, по-русски. Tell about your trouble. The idea of the project, how it appeared. We got a lot of stories from people. When we opened Kok.team, we started to write some articles and so on. We started to get letters like in DMs and everywhere. People wanted to tell us their stories. Their stories about discrimination, stories about hate crimes, and so on. Maybe you can click the projects on the top, and there should be no, they won't be there because we deleted the link to the. Okay, never mind. I will continue. So we started to gather stories of the people who went through or going through the discrimination, hate crime, and we decided to part of these stories we published. Because also always with of course concern of the с разрешения, Боже, how to say in English?
With the approval.
Yeah, with the approval of people who send us these stories. But most of the stories we used to create submission. It's the report to the UN Human Rights Council for the session, like 34th session of the Universal Periodical Report. So we have it in our library. We also have library on our in our website. So we created this report using these stories got from people. And when we started to think about this, that we can create this submission, this report, we asked our colleagues if we can get some help from them or something like that. And the answers we got from more experienced colleagues that, oh, it's so hard, or it's so difficult. You need to know, so if you want to do it, just, I don't know, do it, but it's very hard. But we did it. It's not so hard, actually. You just take some reports from like previous years, and you create your own one on the basis of the previous reports. That's actually what you do, and you just add your content, like the new content to that report. Yeah, you can see it here. We have it in English and I think in Russian also. And the third one of the project maybe I should also talk about is the poisoned childhood, отравленное детство, that you see it on the screen now. We published more than 30 stories. So this project was our, let's say, our reaction to these anti-gender, anti-LGBT organizations. One of them called Казахстанский союз родителей или союз Союз родителей, Казахстанский союз родителей, the Kazakh Union of Parents, they call themselves. But what they basically do is they have few agendas. One is they don't want the government to принять закон, Боже.
To make the law?
Принять закон.
To make the law?
Yeah, like to make the law about the home violence, like family violence. They like violence, so they are against this law. They don't want the government to make the law about the bullying in school. To work with students and teachers to prevent the bullying, because they like bullying. They even wrote it openly in one of their papers that bullying is the way to to transform children. So without bullying, we cannot transform children, and they will gonna be gay, all of them. That's what they wrote in their papers. And the last agenda is like they fighting against LGBT. That's what they basically do. The Kazakhstan Union of Parents. They're not interested in any other problems. So when children were killed, for example, in January, they didn't write anything about killing children. They're just it's not their agenda. So they started to create a lot of hate speech on Instagram. Is one of the most popular social media in Kazakhstan, and they started to bully LGBT queer teenagers there, because they are mostly like these teenagers. They are very open there. You can see that the teenager is queer, so they started to bully them on Instagram. And our reaction to that, to their activities, was this project, Poisoned Childhood. So we just ask people to send us texts about the bullying that they went through or they're going through, and we just published more than 30 texts. So that's the one project. Also, I think I should mention.
And Tolik, can I ask you
Yeah.
to talk a bit about my favorite project of yours, which was Pony Valikhanova?
Yeah, Pony Valikhanova. Okay, Pony Valikhanova. That's actually the project that we got financial support from Planet Romeo. We decided that maybe we can do something more than just texts. You know, we are good in texts, but let's do something more. And we decided, okay, we will create a project for YouTube channel. It was we can even show it maybe on YouTube, or I don't know, Pony Valikhanova. Oh yeah, actually you can find like some description and links there on website also. We decided that maybe we should choose some topics from our articles and create something like this, like videos, like it was always online. We were preparing ourselves to the, and we always, it was really clickbaiting topics all the time. It's like when there will be a gay pride in Shymkent, or I don't know, like something like a lot of clickbaiting stuff there. But we talked like really about the really general common things that we wanted to discuss with our auditorium. So it was 30, more than 30 actually videos, because we liked it so much that we continued it later even on Instagram. Already without the name Pony Valikhanova, but yeah, we continued it, but now we stopped everything. So now Kok.team is closed. It works only as an archive now. Yeah. I think I wasn't really logical in my.
No, thank you so much. And your
think
connection now is
yeah.
absolutely perfect. And I think it's a very good example
Okay,
how
thank
you use also sensational narrative, but make it educational, what we discussed before with Mohira. And I think maybe it's been 1 hour, maybe we can stop our official streaming and just have the discussion if our communication team is okay with this. Hanchi, let us know if we can